outside as the night wears on. Sprint Cup qualifying coming up next, as 48 cars will go for 43 positions. The nationwide final practice is at 8:30 Eastern time, and then don't forget trackside at Fontana. That is 10 p.m. Eastern time, and that features A.J. Allmendinger and Matt Kenseth as well. Right now, we're going to get you down where all the action is happening and join Randy Pemberton. Randy, what's going on down there?
Well, the sun is beginning to dip a little bit in the west. It's cooling off just a little bit. Qualifying coming up in just a couple of moments. Bobby Labonte sitting here on the wall. One of the early draws to go out, Bobby. Had a pretty good speed weeks. Come here to California. We're up on the chart till the last few cars went out in practice. So I would think you got to be optimistic. Car looked fast.
Yeah, I really am. Todd Parrish done a great job. Everybody at Hall of Fame Racing with Yates Racing there. And this Ask.com Ford Fusion was pretty good. So I was pretty happy, I know a lot of people didn't do no testing, but I did zero testing. So I'm excited about the way the car felt right away. We didn't run many laps, but so just every time I went out there, I got more comfortable with it, and that was key. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope I don't screw up on this lap. Hope I have a good one, and we'll see where it ends up.
Can you be a prognosticator a little bit? What happens when the sun goes down here in California? Will those guys going out later get a little bit of a better chance at it?
I would think so. I mean, a little bit, obviously, and we didn't draw the best draw, but it's still the same for everybody, or it's fair for everybody because next week we might be on the other side of it. But I'm optimistic about having a good run here. So if it cools off too much, that might not be as good for transition-wise for some guys that if their car's not balanced right, maybe it might change. It's hard to say, but cooler track conditions should be a little faster.
All right, good luck qualifying, Bobby. Bob Dillner.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. with one of those early draws here at California, and this is one of those strange places. I mean, what do you think about your draw here today?
Well, you'd like to go later as it cools off a little bit. The track will get a little quicker, so that's definitely a good advantage if you can get it. We just didn't get a good lucky draw, but we'll do the best we can. It's a track where you can pass pretty easily, so if we don't qualify well, we'll still feel pretty good about our car. It was running pretty good this morning in practice during the race trim runs.
I was going to say, how was it in practice? What tendency did it have, Junior?
I like the car in race trim. We didn't run real fast in qualifying trim, but we made some changes to see what we can get. But, again, the draw is going to hurt us a little bit. But in race trim, the car was pretty good. We had a real good package here last year. We just didn't get to show it because we were caught up in an early wreck, but I think we'll be pretty good.
All right, Dale Earnhardt Jr. going off very, very early here, Johnny, and we could already see the sun starting to dip behind the stands, and when it goes completely behind the stands, that's when this track gets really fast, as Junior alluded to.
Yeah, Bob, that's exactly right. A colder track is faster. Here's your top 10 from the Sprint Cup practice session leading into this qualifying session. A couple of the 7 drivers who call California home, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, were on top of the chart. It's Greg Biffle, Rudeman, and Ryan Newman in the top 5. Ryan Newman is hoping for much better results this week than he had last week in Daytona. Reed Sorensen and Carl Edwards also among the top 10 in practice speeds, and they are hoping that carries over until this qualifying session. So we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more reaction from the garage area as we get set for Sprint Cup qualifying here at the Auto Club Speedway. As the sun sets in the west, we get ready to set the grid.
Sunday.
Tomorrow, AMA Supercross is live on Speed. Don't miss a second of the action as world champions James Stewart and Chad Reed get vertical in Atlanta and go bar to bar live on Speed. Coverage begins tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern time, and we advise you to be present for that motorcycle race. And right now we are getting the action ready to go here. The crowd is starting to build behind us, and we suggest you come out and join us here if you're within shouting distance of the Auto Club Speedway. But let's now get you back inside the racetrack and check back in with Mr. Bob Dillner. Bob?
Well, JR, let's find out if we're going to have 2 straight poles in the Sprint Cup Series for Martin Truex Jr. What about it?
I'm leaning towards no right now, but you got to have faith. I got faith in Bo and all the guys, and we're making some changes, so we'll see what happens. We were okay in practice. My best lap, we only used 2 sets of tires, and my good lap on stickers was kind of sloppy, so I think I can get a little bit better, but I don't know. That lap that Jimmy put down is pretty unbelievable, really.
Where do you have to be better?
Through the center. Just the car's not turning in the middle very good, and it's pretty loose off. So, like I said, we're making some changes, and cross the fingers, drive it in there, hope it sticks, see what happens.
Martin Truex Jr. trying for 2 in a row here for poles in the Cup Series. Randy?
Hey, Bob, if you're not coming to any racetrack this weekend, particularly here at California, this is what you're missing. You come out here and all the fans get to get an autograph from somebody like Greg Biffle before they go out to qualify. Real quickly, how's your car?
Hey, man, it's really, really good. I just wish I had a better draw. You know, we go out early, so I'm hoping to get the Ford Fusion, 3M Ford Fusion on the pole, but Jeff Gordon's a few spots behind me. He was a couple thousandths better, so we'll see what happens, but I think we're going to get a good top 10 spot.
All right, get a couple more autographs. JR, that's what the fans are missing right here.
Randy, thanks a lot. It's always a good idea to stick with the Biff, and that's exactly what Randy and the fans are doing. This is going to be a very interesting qualifying session coming up. Some of the faster cars are going out early in the session. Some of the later cars will have a better draw. They might be faster. And then, of course, let's not forget the go-or-go-home cars will qualify together at the end of the session. You're going to want to watch them as well. Let's send it now back up to the broadcast booth for qualifying.
Welcome back to Auto Club Speedway, just outside Los Angeles, California, where right now 48 cars are set to go in qualifying for Sunday's Auto Club 500. 74 degrees, light breeze, just a few clouds, beautiful weather. Smell of suntan oil in the air. And after drying out everything from Daytona, that's a pretty good thing. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Darrell Waltrip with you for qualifying. And as we said in the practice earlier, the real season starts here. The Daytona 500 is a race unto itself. Actually, all 4 restrictor plate races are. But now the work begins.
Yeah, it really does. And the thing about this place is it's somewhat deceiving. When these cars go off into turn 1, they're hitting over 210 miles an hour. Now, I don't know how many folks at home ever driven a car at 210 miles an hour. Probably if you did, you're going straight. They're going to go 210 miles an hour and try to turn left. And that's where the challenge comes. I mean, driving that thing off into turn 1 and trying to get it to stick so that you can carry a lot of speed through the corner and get up on the back straightaway, that's the challenge these guys are facing.
Larry, the other thing we talked about in practice is by the time you get down there in the corner, your crew chief has built you a car that is essentially a go-kart. It is pretty much suspensionless once it gets all hunkered down the middle of the corner. And that makes for an exciting ride.
Well, and we don't have near the banking we had at Daytona last week. We had 31 degrees of banking there, and we only have 14 degrees, which is not much banking. And to get a good qualifying lap like Jimmy Johnson laid down earlier in practice, you just barely are out of the throttle just a little bit, and that car is down on the ground. And for a lot of these guys, we have 48 cars here, so for 13 guys, we know 5 of them, they're going to go make a trip back across the country here in a little bit after qualifying. They will not make this show.
Qualifying is underway, and the very first draw is the man who will start first in the truck race, the Camping World's Truck Series race on Fox tomorrow, Kyle Busch. In 2005, he became the youngest Cup pole winner in the spring race and the youngest ever race winner in the fall race. He has been running at the end of the finish in every one of his 9 starts here. And he really put a whipping on him in truck qualifying a little bit ago.
Well, he's putting a whipping on that steering wheel right now. That thing was diving around a little bit there in the middle of the corner, but he snatched it around there. Let's see what kind of time he got.
Lays down a 41.34. He was 12th quickest in practice earlier, so actually 39.57. We got more scoring monitors and more times up here than we know what to do with. But anyhow, 39.57.
That's
so
right.
That is quite a pickup.
That's right on top of what Jimmy Johnson ran right there.
Let's check with Matt.
Mike Joy, the Rocket, Ryan Newman, looked back to his old pole winning ways in practice, knocked down the 5th fastest time, 2002 pole winner here, but you have an early draw. How temperature sensitive is this racetrack?
It's been really sensitive no matter what. It seems like it's just super sensitive. Even throughout practice, it seemed like it changed, and the sun didn't change a whole lot. So we'll do what we can with this Sauce Automation Chevrolet and do our best. We're 5th in practice, but the draw is not in our favor today.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
The draw is not in our favor. Now, we've been on the air 2 minutes, and we've already heard that several times.
Yes, we have, but just back to Kyle Busch real quickly. Jimmy Johnson's best lap was a 39.58, and he was miles ahead of everybody else by about 3/10. So it's a pretty steamy little run right there by Kyle.
This is a home game for Robbie Gordon. His shop is not far from California Speedway. And see what the Jim Beam Camry can do here.
He was pretty good in practice.
13th quickest, yeah. Looks like he's a little off pace from Kyle Busch, but what I saw there on this tracker right here is he really drove it down into turn 3 and gained a little bit of time, Darrell, but he paid the price on the exit of the corner, which is pretty common.
It's going to be a nice lap, though. I think he's going to be happy with that.
It's not far off Kyle Busch.
Exactly.
39.60, just 3/100ths off Kyle.
That's a great lap, boys.
Nice lap for Robbie Gordon. Coming up, John Andretti, Brian Vickers, and Dale Jr. Home of the famous, always made fresh $5 footlong Subway. Eat fresh. John Andretti's single lap of qualifying in the Window World Chevrolet, 40.159, 179 miles an hour. He is third of 3 so far.
But about everybody's picking up about a half a second from what they ran in practice.
Yeah, John was like 33rd in practice, and I mean, he may end up 33rd with qualifying though with today, but that's a whale of a pickup.
Brian Vickers trying to put his Red Bull Toyota on the pole. As we mentioned in the practice show, this track home to Toyota, just as Michigan International Speedway is home to the Detroit 3.
Tell you what, he's looking pretty sporty right now. If you remember a couple of years ago, Brian Vickers got Toyota's first top 10 finish in Sprint Cup, and he looks like he's going to be quite a bit quicker than Kyle Busch, maybe down in the 39.30s.
57.25, excuse me. Yeah. 57 was Kyle Busch. 39.25.
The only 4 cars have gone, so maybe some of those times we see aren't as impressive as we think they're going to be.
I believe they're only going to get faster.
It looks that way. That's huge.
Dick Berggren.
And I'm with Kyle Busch. He's having a little conversation here with Robbie Gordon. We'll see if we can jump in without being too terribly impolite. You picked up a good bit, and so have some of the other drivers as well, Kyle. Where's the additional speed coming from?
Well, of course, you know, the guys, they just do a little bit more fine-tuning on the motor and stuff like that. But, you know, for us, we were so far off in practice that we needed to gain something chassis-wise. And so the guys went to work, Addington and the boys, to put a pretty good setup underneath it. I was proud of the way that it drove, but I'm not so sure that's fast enough. So we'll see where that puts us. Hopefully that time right there will be somewhere between 10th and 15th. Hopefully better, but that's where I'm foresighting it to be.
Imagine being Kyle Busch. He's running all 3 series, and he's incredibly fast in all of them.
No surprise, Dick. Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 5th here in this race in 07. His best finish here, a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 5th.
And we need to mention that these guys do have the ability to run 2 laps in qualifying, but it's pretty much the money lap is your first lap, because that's when the tires have the most grip when they're brand new. Plus, they tape these cars up pretty solid on the nose for their drag reduction, and they're going to start getting pretty warm if you run a 2nd lap when you're looking at about a 39-second lap around here.
Yeah, once the engine gets up to 240, it stops making power.
Harold Jr.'s car was darty going into turn 3. Like, did the nose not want to hold, or was the back trying to step up?
No, it looked like it was bouncing a little bit. Like the car was bouncing.
It was definitely freer. Look, just get that little step sideways.
Yeah.
That I've been talking about all day. And that's costing me a little bit of time back to the throttle.
40 flat for Junior, 180 miles an hour, 4th of 5. Matt?
Mike, Greg Biffle took the e-ticket ride, a great save earlier today in practice and nationwide series competition. Take into account all the factors. What would be a good number for you to knock down in qualifying?
Well, I don't know how fast these guys are going, but the 3 and Ford Fusion car's been running really good. Real happy with it in qualifying trim. I think we have a strong chance of being in the top 10 when this thing's over. We know it's going to cool down. We're going to get beat. But, you know, we were 3rd in practice earlier, but Jeff Gordon just a hair up front of us. I think if we can do that again, obviously speeds are going to pick up. But if we can end up in the top 6 or 7, I think I'll be happy.
Roush Fenway car is always strong here. They've won 4 of the last 5 spring races.
Thanks, Matt. How quick is Bobby Labonte?
Yeah. Just ask. You want to ask him?
We're about to see. I'd go to ask.com and find out. Okay.
You know, I said this earlier in our practice show. When they tape these things up and put tires on them and the engine man gets through tuning up on them a little bit, you have no idea how much you're going to pick up. You just know you're going to pick up.
Now, Bobby looked like he was flirting with a front row run here, and he lost a little bit of ground about the middle of turn 3 and 4 off. So right now he'll be 4th quickest at a 39.67. This race car is the one that Carl Edwards won at Homestead with the end of last year, 2008.
We know that's a good piece.
Dick?
With Brian Vickers, and he always seems to qualify well here at the Auto Club Speedway. Couple of seconds of pole and fast today. What is there about you in this place?
I have no idea. It's not all about me, I can assure you that. The Red Bull Toyota handled really well. We were tight all practice, and Ryan, the guys, made some good changes there at the end of practice, and I think it paid off.
Okay, good luck to this weekend.
He is fastest so far. Brian Newman has 1 pole here in 12 starts, 5 top 10 starts. And this is one of the races for which the Stewart-Haas team does not have a sponsor, so Haas Automation goes on the car.
Well, let's see if the Rocket has lit the fuse today. It's 5th quick in practice. That's you say when he's that good, he's always worth a little bit in qualifying.
Well, he won the pole his first. Won the pole his first time here, but since then has not qualified better than 4th.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be a good deal here because that thing was whoppy jaws.
So what Ryan may do is regroup here, and Ryan may be the first car to go ahead and run a second lap, considering what happened to him down in the middle of 1 and 2.
That's the difference with me and Ryan. I'd have quit right there when she got sideways. That's it, boys.
So let's see what he'll run on this first lap. It just barely going to be inside the 39s. In fact, it's 39.91. He said, boys, that's all I've got.
But that's still pretty good considering the shape he was in.
180 miles per hour, over 180 miles per hour.
This thing right here now, this is the most treacherous part of the turn, right in the center. We've seen him step out right there. The thing about it is he recovered nicely.
Brand new race car for Ryan here this weekend.
Yeah, he left all his old ones in Daytona.
Oh, dear.
They did go through a bunch of them.
Carl Edwards.
You know, I was talking to his crew, and of course, one of the problems, talking about Ryan Newman, one of the problems he had in a late race pit stop was the car came off the jack. And I guess what happened, actually, the clutch just released, even with his foot on the clutch during that pit stop is what happened.
Wow. Carl Edwards in the Aflac Fusion got his first of 4 career wins here in the fall race of 2005.
Right where the car rotates from going around the corner, that's where these things are really getting loose, and that's what you got to have to get them to turn. But look at that left rear tire. It's all wrinkled up. It looks like a drag car going down a drag strip.
And you know, qualifying, Darrell, I don't know that that's so much that they're on low air pressure, because normally you put some air pressure in, but like we were talking earlier today during the practice show, one of the changes that Goodyear made in the tire combination here is a much softer sidewall construction, which gives the driver a good feel on the left side of the car.
It lets the left side tire flex a little bit more, just like you see those sidewalls doing. But it fascinates me at 200 miles an hour. It just tells you how much power, though, the engine has, because that's downforce from the wing, but it's also the engine pulling that thing forward as hard as it is. A lot of acceleration, even at top end.
So the defending winner of the race, 5th fastest at a 39.82. He's got his first of 9 wins last season, a league-leading 9 here last year. Last week's pole winner, Martin Truex Jr., has never started better than 5th here. He did that in his 2nd try at this racetrack.
I don't know that Martin knows exactly what he's going to have here. They've kind of struggled with this car. This is a brand new race car, and I know Kevin Mannion and his crew chief in that group, they really threw a whole totally different package at it for this qualifying run.
But Larry, believe it or not, I mean, he knows the car. He's been in it, obviously. But when you go out of the pits, and he's loose as a goose right there, you can see that picking up the throttle. But when you go out of the pits and start down the back and you go into turn 3, you know what you got. I mean, if it's there, it's there. And if it's not, you say, oh, we haven't fixed it.
And with these guys only running 1 lap, turn 3 and 4 coming to take the green's a pretty critical corner, because that's what builds your speed down this front straightaway, and that's where the tires have maximum grip. They're the freshest.
You got to hustle out of that pit.
So the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet of Truex Clocks in 7th at a 39.96. Coming up, Scott Speed, Marcus Ambrose, Greg Biffle. Rookie Scott Speed has just laid down a very strong lap. 39.56, 182 miles an hour. Second fastest to his teammate, Brian Vickers.
4 Toyotas up at the top of the heap right now, then 2 Fords, and then 4 Chevrolets.
Well, Larry, I was right about one thing. John Andretti's going to be back. He's going to end up 33rd.
Marcus Ambrose from Australia.
Great job at Daytona.
Really did,
Darryl. Set there. I don't think we mentioned his name all day long, and that's a plus.
And that's his best oval track finish in 12 starts in the Sprint Cup Series. Driving for Tad Geschickter and Brad Doherty.
I'm telling my brother shot Michael Waltrip, and I'll tell you, they got some pretty good race cars this year.
There's another Toyota in the top 5. Marcos Ambrose, 5th quickest at a 39.63.
You reckon, we've mentioned this time or two, reckon all them Toyotas running that good is because the headquarters just down the street
I just got a little bit high into 3 again. Lost maybe a 10 coming off on the roll to the middle, but great job, boys. Thank you. We're going to have a great year, man.
Well, you always want to impress the home office, and you know everybody that works over there gets the LA Times, and if that's the headline tomorrow, Toyota sweeps qualifying, that's all good.
Yeah, it is. It's a little early. Jimmy Johnson will be up there. I was surprised how fast they were the first few cars out, but now the track's just got a ton of grip in it right now.
She's definitely cooling down.
Greg Biffle has 3 nationwide series wins here. A front row start and a victory. Driving the 3M Ford Fusion for Roush Fenwick. He's on it.
207 down into turn 1.
207.
You know, we've had 17 Sprint Cup Series races here, and it's pretty much been dominated by 2 groups. Hendrick Motorsports, they have 7 wins here. Roush Fenway 6. In fact, Roush Fenway, they have a total of 14 wins when you combine the wins in all 3 series.
It's going to be a close run here.
Missed the bottom.
Missed the bottom.
Going to be maybe about in the 40s. 39.49.
Second.
But he breaks up the little Toyota party up there at the top of the chart.
This should be interesting. Let's go to Dick Berggren with Scott Speed.
And for those who were wondering if this guy is the real deal, this is his first time at the Auto Club Speedway. He is so unfamiliar with this place that when he finished his time trial run, the crew chief said, "Do you know where you're going?" And what'd you tell him?
Yeah, I mean, that has nothing to do with Speedway. That just has to do with where they're trying to take you. But, I mean, we're going to say our cars are obviously, both of the Red Bull cars ran really good here. So, you know, these things are the most crazy difficult to drive in qualifying. You know, that when the cars ride, you know, we're normally all right. And the race is going to be certainly a lot tougher for us.
All right, good run. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's wing tips and Birkenstocks right there.
There's former teammates talking to one another, Jeff Gordon and Casey Mears. But back to Scott Speed as we watch David Rudeman, another Toyota, start his run. You know, he has his teammate Brian Vickers, but he told us last week when we sat down with him that probably the most advice that anyone has offered to him has actually come from current reigning champion Jimmy Johnson. Said Jimmy has let him lean on him a lot, Scott Speed.
Well, David really lost a lot of time down into turn 1 there. I really expected him to have a really good qualifying. Not that this is not going to be, but he lost a lot of time for some reason. Looks like he's getting out of the throttle real early.
Darryl, he was 4th quickest in practice at a 39.87.
He's going to beat that.
Flirting with the top 5.
Yeah, he just picked up a ton off of turn 2 there.
He really came back to the white flag.
39.54, third quickest.
I think what he was doing was that rolling out early but picking it up quicker, you know, using it, making the turn bigger.
It paid off.
/hologram.
David Stremme, the Penske Racing Dodge, with a disappointing 40-13, 179 miles an hour. He is 13th of the 14 drivers that have taken time.
Mike, you've heard that old saying, on a wing and a prayer? That's what this car right here reminds me of. Got that wing on the back. You're praying that wing will keep you stuck to the ground. You're praying it'll stick. That's what you're doing.
David Reagan making his 4th appearance here. He's never qualified in the top 20, but he has always finished in the top 20 here.
And I'm going to tell you what, that's another guy that we probably didn't talk a lot about during the Daytona 500 because so many other things around him was going on. But how about a 6th place finish to start the 2009 season off for David Reagan? Good run.
Had to double a handful of wheel there getting into the corner.
Yeah, if you think this is easy and you think you could do, you're sitting at home thinking you do this, put yourself behind the wheel of that thing right in the middle of that corner down there just now and see how it feels.
39.62, 7th quickest for Reagan. So in the top 10, 4 Fords and 6 Toyotas.
And you know, Brian Vickers is sitting out there, you know, about 2.5 tenths quicker than anybody else right now. But I'm going to tell you, if you look from about 3rd with David Rudiman at a 39.54, Bobby Labonte's 9th at a 39.67. It's pretty tight in there in the 50s and 60s.
Really is.
Dick?
Greg Biffle was 3rd quick in practice. He is 2nd quick on the board right now. Was the car all you'd hoped for?
Yeah, it really was. Just the driver screwed it up. I just, you know, maybe got a little nervous and pushed on the brakes as I got down towards the center 3 and 4, and the car moved up a lane and just totally had to wait on it. You know, probably cost, you know, 10th or 10th and a half, 2 tenths maybe waiting on it. But that's a great lap so far. We just hopefully other guys make a little mistake like I did and we can stay up in the top 10.
It's a good run at any rate. Matt?
Dick catching up with the 2009 Daytona 500 champion, Matt Kenseth. So have you had a chance to enjoy the week and take in all that you've experienced?
I really have. You know, probably one of my faults maybe in the past is not enjoying it enough, and I've really enjoyed this one a lot. I hope I didn't enjoy it too much because we really got to focus on California and upcoming racing, and the hardest part has been getting your mind back on this race and off of what happened last week. But yeah, it's been a great week. I've just been unbelievably thankful, and I've had a lot of fun, but really appreciating, you know, the team and the overall guys, all the guys prepare these cars, and Doug Yates and them guys make the motors run. Everybody that makes it happen. I was really just one of very many people. I was just a lucky guy that got to take some of the credit and to be steering the car. So yeah, I've had a great week. It's been a good time.
All right, good luck in qualifying.
Thanks.
Well, Matt Kenseth has an opportunity to do something that's only been done once since 1977. That's when the first 2 races of the year. Jeff Gordon did it in 1997.
Paul Menard, 11th quickest. The 39.94 in his Chevrolet. Brian Vickers quickest, Greg Biffle 2nd. It's all Toyota and Ford in the top 11. Jeff Gordon is going to try to change that, making his 18th start here Sunday at this speedway, including 2 of his 67 career poles.
Now, he got out a little early, but it seemed like he was trying to pick the throttle, but he couldn't quite get back to it as quick as he needed to.
He was 2nd quickest in practice, right behind his teammate Jimmy Johnson. We've not had a lot of Chevrolets qualify yet, but right now the fastest Chevrolet is Ryan Newman, who is 12th.
I believe he's going to be saying his car's a little tight, Larry. I think
that was close.
It's just not cutting through
I don't think it's enough. Good job, though, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a good solid lap. 3rd quickest, 39.51.
So this is a home game for him, driving the Jack Daniels Chevy. And boy, a lot of movement in that car, Darrell. The back's up and down, the front's back and forth.
I think you see, you know, but Mike, you'll see more cars hopping around like that in qualifying trim because that's how it goes fast. Okay. When the thing starts to come up off the ground, the shock absorbers are made just to jerk it back down to keep it down low and keep the air going over it good. So it's a rough ride. We know, the drivers know that, but it makes it fast.
14th, 39.91 for Casey Mears, and he's right in the midst of a whole pack of Chevys in the mid-teens. Dick?
David Rudiman's best start at the California Speedway. Stuck with so fast in practice, fast in qualifying as well. What have you learned?
I don't know if I've actually learned anything at all, but the entry machine unloaded. flat shop's been doing a great job. Another new car, so the guys in the fab shop have been doing an awesome job. When you unload like that and have all those things, yeah, all driver, I wish I could say that. It was definitely all the guys at the shop and the guys that got around me, and along with Aaron's being on the car for a full year now, that makes it awesome.
And credit where credit is due. The driver did do a good job.
Let me tell you, that boy can qualify a car.
He is fourth fastest right now. As Denny Hamlin rolls out, Hamlin qualified fifth his first time here. That was 2006. Last fall, he got his best finish on this racetrack. Third.
Wiggling around, and we get a little heat in his left side tires.
But right here is a critical part of that qualifying lap. Picking that throttle up early in turn 3 and 4 and getting her back to that green flag to take that speed down the front straightaway into turn 1.
It affects getting down in turn 1. It can affect as much as 2 or 3 miles an hour, which is a lot of speed. Let's see how many 2.0s he does.
2:05. Little bit of brake. Just rolled into it.
You know, that's something that drivers don't realize. Every driver that I know of brakes with their left foot. And you ride with that left foot laying right up there on the brake pedal. And a lot of times as you go off in a corner, you're actually pushing down on the brake pedal and don't realize it. And particularly on these big sweeping turns like this. We used to put a real heavy brake spring on my pedal, so it took a lot of effort to push it down.
I don't think Denny's going to be real excited about this qualifying run, considering where a lot of those fellow Toyotas are at right now. Right now he's 11th quickest at a 39.81.
And here's Dick.
With Jeff Gordon, who certainly knows his way around this place with 3 wins, and you've got a fast race car. What do you got for us on Sunday?
Well, I think we've got a really good race car for Sunday. The DuPont Chevrolet was good all day. We pretty much focused on a race setup, and I wish we could have made one more qualifying run. All the guys, Steve and all the guys on the DuPont Chevrolet made good adjustments. We just need a little bit more. This track picks up so much when you go to qualify, so we need a little bit more just to go a little bit faster, but very happy with the car, as a whole and the day as a whole as well.
The year is starting out very well for Jeff Gordon.
You know what was interesting about Jeff Gordon? We had the luxury of sitting down with him earlier today and just chit-chatting about different things. And, he has 546 career starts. And he said, guys, driving a race car is not fun. What's fun is when you're competitive and when you get to go to victory lane, as he has done 81 times.
Yeah, what's fun is winning.
There you
go. That's what's fun. The rest of the time, it's a job.
For this fella, Joey Logano, the 18-year-old from Connecticut, what would be fun is driving this race car and getting it back to the garage in one piece.
Took off right.
Able to do that in practice, scrape the wall. Finished 6th.
I think it shows you how well these engines are running. If you notice, good, he still picked up positions down the back straightaway.
He needs more straightaway. That's what he needs. Turns are getting in his way.
Yeah, this is not going to be a very good run for Joey. Right now, he's going to be 18th quickest out of the 21 cars that's qualified. By far the slowest Toyota.
Not that fast, Larry, but I'm just happy he got a good clean lap and can drive it back. Want to be part of the excitement at the track? Go to the NASCAR section of SpeedTV.com. Select NASCAR on Speed. Send us your email. NASCAR on Speed. Be there. Matt?
Mike, timing is everything. We just missed Drew Blickensderfer walking by and thanking Harvick for the push last week at Daytona. But a win here for you and this team would be huge. RCR's never won at the California Speedway.
Yeah, a few years ago we came here and ran really good, had a chance to win the race, and had a red flag there at the end and got a flat tire. But our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet's been decent in race trim. Hadn't been real exciting in qualifying trim, but we'll see where we wind up.
And by the way, the year he had the flat tire was 2007. The guy that went on to win that race, Matt Kenseth.
I've made up my mind. Blickensderfer is going to become Blick.
DB.
He's just Blick.
Blick.
How's old Blick doing down there?
Matt Kenseth. If you like to bet the averages, Matt Kenseth has not finished worse than 7th in his last 7 races here, which include 2 victories.
You talk about Drew Blickensderfer, Darrell, and he had an interesting comment when I talked to him Wednesday night. You know, that was a backup car they won the 500 with because Matt got involved in a crash in the dual race on Thursday, and they were really not that happy with that car. And Drew said, you know what? It's not that one car is better than another. It's just you get those bump stops worked out on one where you're maybe struggling with the other one.
And a 39.81, 180 miles an hour, and Sadler is 2 positions ahead of him with a 39.74, 181.1.
You know, the honeymoon is still young, but I think Elliott Sadler really pushed to get Kevin Buskirk over there as his crew chief. They had a great relationship at Robert Yates Racing, had that great run last week at Daytona, and here they are by far the fastest Dodge so far.
Now this is Michael Waltrip, who went out on the racetrack and trying to get up to speed in the back straightaway, radioed in plug wire and coasted in. They're trying to make repairs. He's on the 5-minute clock.
I noticed a lot of work going on over there in that right side window.
Yeah.
Of course, that's where the ignition panel and everything is.
It's more serious than plug wire to me because I can stick that right back on.
Jimmy Johnson won practice. In fact, nobody challenged Johnson the whole practice session for fastest time. He has 3 wins here and 3 second-place finishes.
Vickers may have gone just fast enough to make him mad. He may have to see if he can drop her down into 37s. What do you think, Larry? Can you do it?
He's there right now, 207 getting off into turn 1. He was in his own zip code during practice, but he lost a little ground on the exit of turn 2. And as you can see, it just continues to escalate down the back straightaway when you don't get off turn 2 that well.
Off early. Let's see if he can pick it up off 4. Car's just a little bit loose right there when he wants to turn it.
Jimmy won the pole here last fall. He started the spring race from the pole based on points.
Not going to get there.
He's going to have a push.
Second. 39.30. That's a great lap, but boy, I'm telling you, Vickers raised that bar pretty darn high.
Coming up, Reed Sorensen, Jamie McMurray, and Kevin Harvick.
You can make some NASCAR dreams come true for kids who really deserve it just by getting your NASCAR Day pin at NASCAR.com/NASCAR Day.
Reed Sorensen, who finished 9th at Daytona, times in 12th fastest with a 39.68.
And you know, we haven't said a lot about it, but the Dodge does have an updated nose on their cars this year. And based on how they're running, well, we're one race, but qualifying today as well, that could be helping those cars more than we think.
Could be.
Put a little more front downforce in it.
Yep.
Jamie Mack looking for a spot in the first 2 rows here in the Crown Royal Fusion.
That felt really good.
I'd say he's going to be real happy with that. He beats his teammate Greg Biffle to become the fastest Ford. He's 3rd quickest at a 39.41. Good run.
Larry, and I'm telling you, I still think there's some guys that could maybe dethrone Vickers. There's Casey Kane. We don't want to count him out.
Way better in practice, though. Good job, guys. Good job, Donnie.
Yeah, Donnie and him are, I tell you, they're going to make some good music together this year.
Well, and again, this track just keeps getting cooler and cooler right now, so she's gaining grip and gaining speed.
Yeah, but you got Casey Kane, you got Kurt Busch, and then you jump over the other side, and you still got Mark Martin over here at the go. And there's some go-homers that Tony Stewart's in there.
Allmendinger.
And Allmendinger's back there. I tell you, there's still some bullets to dodge.
Michael Waltrip back on track after whatever malady affected the Napa Toyota. His best start here came driving for DEI in 2002 when he started 6th. Coming off a 7th place finish in Daytona.
Something's wrong with that thing.
Yep. Won't run.
I saw him coming off turn 4. Looked like he reached down for the shifting lever down there, or doing something. He was, or maybe he's trying to change ignition boxes.
Now, he took the green flag, so that's pretty much going to be it.
Yeah.
That's none and done for Michael Waltrip. He is locked into the field, however. Dick?
With Jimmy Johnson and a very good run, 2nd quick, but we were kind of thinking you were going to win the pole. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, practice, I was ready, and from the first lap on the track, you know, it was right there at 100%. I think some other guys were playing with race trim and things like that, and we certainly thought we were going to go a little quicker than that with the pickup everybody else had, but evidently we were at 100% when practice ended, and we just picked up a little bit from there. But great effort for the Cobalt Tool Chevrolet, and we'll be ready for the race. We'll be in good shape.
And we'll be looking for you at the front of the pack when they do drop the green flag.
Thank you.
Kevin Harvick, the Budweiser Shootout winner, runner-up in the 500. And he finished in the top 10 both races here last year. 8th and 4th.
In the year he won the 500, he came out here in 2007, and they had a car that was an awesome car that day. And he was going to win the race, and as you heard him say, they had a red flag. He had a tire go flat. Left front tire went flat while he was sitting there in the red.
He qualified 4th, but wound up 17th. This looks like a top 5 run, maybe.
It's kind of sliding around a little on him here at the.
Maybe not.
He lost a lot of ground from the middle of turn 3 and 4 off the corner. So he'll be 14th quickest.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time in 3 and 4. The car started really sliding.
Dick?
With Jamie McMurray, and you were so fast at Daytona, fast here again at California, picking right up where you left off last year.
Yeah, I thought that we were one of the best cars that actually did race trim this morning, and then when they put it in qualifying trim, it just felt like they didn't put tires on it. Car didn't drive very good, and it didn't have much grip. But I got to hand it to Donnie and Derek. They did a really good job, not making a lot of adjustments, and just, I guess, using years of experience and wisdom, kind of know what the track maybe would do there.
Good job. Well done. Thank you.
Derek is Derek Finley. Derek Finley used to be up there with Donnie Wingo at Travis Carter's when Jimmy Spencer drove the Winston car. Derek started out at DEI. He was my engineer when I drove the 1 car for Dale. He was right out of college. Dale hired him as an engineer. He tried to be a crew chief at Bill Davis a couple of times, but he's a great engineer. Good shock, builds great shocks. He and Donnie make a great pair.
Casey Kane, in his first appearance here, he started on the pole. That was 2004, and he picked up a win 2 years later.
Trying to rebound from a little bit of a rough Daytona 500 is he pretty sideways off turn 4, and that's going to cost him a little bit.
Look like Eldora.
16th quickest for Casey. So he's kind of right there with a couple of his teammates, Reed Sorensen and Elliott Sadler, at a 39.75. But Casey was the only Richard Petty Motorsports car not to finish in the top 10 at Daytona, finished 29th.
All right, NASCAR going to go out and have a look at something at the racetrack. Here's Matt.
And Tony Stewart's car with Ryan Newman was very fast in practice, had a bad draw, went early. You're going late. How was your car in practice and qualifying trim?
Well, it wasn't as good as your Facebook page is doing here so far. I mean, I'm surprised they actually got you off of your computer long enough for you to work today. But no, I'm excited. You know, obviously our Office Depot Old Spice Chevy is good, and Ryan was really good in practice and just had a bobbling one that cost him some speed in his run. But if I keep it off the wall for the whole run, I'll be in good shape. I nicked the wall on our first mock run, so really excited about it. I got Haas Automation on board on Ryan's car this week, so it's a pretty good weekend.
That's always good to keep it off the wall. So.
Got a feeling there's more to that story.
Oh, I guarantee you there's more to it. A lot more.
And, you know, the shame is since they don't have their radio show every week, we don't get to hear the rest of the story.
They can only pick on each other when Matt interviews him. They don't have that 2 hours to do it like they used to have.
I'm not sure that, just to be honest with you, anybody wanted to hear the rest of the story, but that's just me.
But you know what Tony Stewart told us about a week ago? Facebook,
maybe
it's for
that's why
lonely people.
Maybe that's why I don't have a radio show anymore. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
And that'll get us in trouble every other time. Meanwhile, Brian Vickers, yeah, let's take the safe shot, Artie. The snow. Hey, Brian Vickers is quickest. Jimmy Johnson, Jamie McMurray, Greg Biffle, and Jeff Gordon are the Fast Five right now. But we're going to have an exciting go or go home qualifying. There are 13 cars here, and only 8 of them are going to make the race. 5 are going to go home. You can sign up for, now if you thought that was silly, here we go. Sign up for a chance to rock the rooftop with Rutledge at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Visit the speed stage next Friday, or Friday, March 6th, that is. Friday in a couple of weeks when we go to Atlanta. Sign up to win a ticket upgrade to the luxurious Club One suite for Saturday and Sunday. Visit atlantamotorspeedway.com/speed for information. And don't forget to stop by the speed stage before trackside Friday, March 6th. Sign up for your chance to win a chance to rock the rooftop with Rutledge.
They sold all the tickets at Daytona and sitting with Jimmy and Kenny, so I'm sure they'll be able to sell the rooftop off rocking with Rutledge at Atlanta.
Yeah, man work without a net.
They also sold all those tickets Monday at Atlanta in 15 minutes. Matt Kenseth won the Daytona 500. So Monday tickets were $17, matching his car number. And they sold out the whole allotment in 15 minutes.
And I think they sold them so quick, what they offered for the next few hours is you buy one ticket at a regular price, you get the second one for $17 because they sold the ones for just $17 out so quick.
Next car on track, Kurt Busch. We'll be right back. Kurt Busch will be our next qualifier. In the last 5 races we've had here with time trials, he's been the pole sitter in 3 of them.
He got a little high down there coming off turn 2. Looked like car took off as it kind of entered into the middle of the corner.
But he is flirting with the top 5. In fact, he bailed her down into turn 3. Now he's going to pay a little bit of a penalty off turn 4, but this is still going to be a great run for Kurt and his 2 car. When you look back at last year, it was this type of track, the 1.5 to 2 mile tracks, they really struggled with this new car. But right now, he's 4th quickest. And Darrell, you talked about the new nose. The Penske cars are actually running that new generation of Dodge engine here this week, the R6 P8 that they ran a little bit last year.
The
so
R
a couple
what?
R6 P8.
R6 P8.
I have no idea, but that's what it's called.
R6 P8. I'll have to work on that.
Clint Boyer, the Cheerios Hamburger Helper Chevy. 3 top 10 starts here, 3 top 10 finishes in 6 appearances for the 2008 Nationwide Series champ, coming off a 4th at Daytona.
He was pretty pumped up about that. He said, you know, this is kind of dedicated to all the naysayers that they were already writing me out of the chase for 2009. But again, as we've talked all day long, these next 3 races, it'll give us the good measuring stick about who's in good shape and who's got work to do at these intermediate speedways.
Now, one thing I noticed he didn't do, he didn't arc that thing in like some of the guys did. He took a little straighter line down into 1. I think it really hurt his corner entry speed a lot. I don't know if the car's not comfortable arcing it out like that, but you got to be pretty tight to do that.
Look at the ride of those Childress cars, Darrell. They just ride differently than everybody else.
They rock.
Yep.
They rock front to rear. They porpoise.
Going to maybe be a top 20 run for Clint. Clint working on 74 consecutive races without a DNF. You got to go all the way back to Phoenix in November of 2006 when he didn't see a checkered flag on the racetrack.
I remember hearing, I think it was 2007, and Harvick had a car that looked like it was going to jump out of the racetrack. And we said, well, that car, he can't drive a car like that.
That car's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. What do you end up, like second or 3rd, you know?
Boyer is 17th, 39.74.
I think I called that car Hoppy for a long time. It did that everywhere they took it.
California, Sunday, will be Jeff Burton's 450th consecutive start since March 1996 at Darlington. That is the 10th all-time consecutive start streak. Ricky Rudd is NASCAR's Ironman at 788. The longest active streak is Jeff Gordon, 546 consecutive races without a failure to start, and there they are.
And that's the total number of races Jeff Gordon has run, period. Yep. They're all consecutive. Michael Waltrip, we just got a report from Dick Berggren. that they broke a valve on that engine. That's the problem they had with the 55 car. So they will change engines, and of course they will start this race on Sunday at the rear of the field. Jeff actually went and did a little acting earlier this week. He was over in Burbank, California, and actually taped a scene in the long-running soap opera General Hospital.
And that's going to air in early to mid-March, I believe.
I believe you're right.
I'm still waiting for as the wheel turns myself.
Well, Jeff Burton's wheels are not turning too good right now because he is looking like he may end up being the slowest of the 31 cars that's qualified, and he will indeed. And Darrell, you and I have talked about it a lot. If there's one thing the Childress cars, they've got to improve, and nobody knows it better than they do, is their qualifying.
Yeah, Jeff Burton, I guarantee he'll get a top 5 finish Sunday. But the pit selection and having to play a track position to get up to the front cost them shots at winning.
Really loose.
He's had 3 top 5s here the last 6 races.
And a good example of that, Mike, was at the end of last year when the qualifying kept getting rained out. I think about Charlotte. I think he started 2nd or 3rd or 4th in the first 2 rows. He won the race.
Yeah.
And so that's something they just can't seem to get a handle on, is to get the cars to run fast qualifying.
Mark Martin, 7 top 10 starts here, 5 of them in the top 5. He has 1 outside pole that came back when he drove for Jack Roush.
Now, he had the truck race one here last year too, or at least he had a darn good shot at it, and he got spun out on the restart with it may have been a green-white checkered, I can't remember, but there were just a few laps to go.
He actually won the truck race here back in 2006 and has that 1 win in Cup in '98.
I think he was driving the Wood Brothers truck last year, the 21 truck. I believe I remember.
I believe
that.
you might be right on that.
You know, the track doesn't seem to be picking up speed as we get later in this session, does it?
No, it's kind of stabilized. I've never seen. The track's picked up a little bit from the very beginning, but it didn't take it long to stabilize.
And all those fellows who said they got a bad draw are up near the top of the board.
Yeah.
So Mark Martin is 15th.
And that actually is the 3rd quickest Chevrolet, joining his teammate Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon.
Move into knockout qualifying. Sam Hornish for Penske Motorsports, carrying the colors of the racetrack and the title of the event, the Auto Club, which is the AAA affiliate in California.
Penske Championship.
That's what it is.
Racing. Isn't that right? I think that's what they changed it to.
They did change the name because of the partnership with Bill Davis.
Right.
The points that go actually to this car.
It was Penske Jasper before because of the partnership with Jasper back way back when. And this time with Bill Davis, and knew that car's a little loose. I think it's Penske Championship Racing, if I remember right.
So much easier when it was just Penske Racing South, but that was a long time ago.
He drove her down into turn 1 pretty good and paid a little bit of a penalty, but not as much as I thought he was going to pay. Now, Sam definitely knows about running wide open around this place because he actually won 2 IRL races here back in 2002, 2003. But this seems like the further he goes with this lap, the worse it's getting.
Yeah.
Right now, 23rd quickest.
Tracker going the wrong way.
23rd, 39.83. And we're just about to the end of top 35 qualifying for the cars that are locked into the race. And again, this is based on last year's championship owner points.
This next car was actually pretty quick in practice. He was 7th quickest. The 42 car won Pablo Montoya.
If I was back home, I'd say pull up a chair right in front of the TV, maybe watch this little run, because this could be good.
He has 1 top 10 start here in 4 appearances, and he finished in the top 15 last week in the Daytona 500.
Now that's getting her up there, getting a run coming to the line.
Wow.
I don't know where he's going. I don't think that's going to really be a good idea, but I think he was thinking he might get a big run down the front doing that.
Well, maybe he watched Kyle Busch qualify in the Truck Series, Darrell. That's exactly what Kyle did, doing the corkscrew like we do at Daytona, running way up on top and then coming down to the bottom for the timed lap.
He's still up there.
207 down into turn 1, but I mean, he wasn't able to pick the throttle up whatsoever. But yeah, you saw all the oil drive blowing up behind his car going through 3 and 4, and we've not seen that on anybody. That's how high up the racetrack he was.
You gotta have planned to do that. Coming to get the green, you're not going to run in there unless he just overdrove the corner and got it up there. I think that's just the car's a little evil.
He's a lot better through 3 and 4 though than he was through 1 and 2. He's going to end up maybe in the top 12 or 13, 13th right now, 39.64.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the strategy for that lap.
It was kind of ugly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Well, it worked precisely for Kyle Busch in truck qualifying, just that way, and he won the pole.
I mean, he's just up there right now with this thing where there's just not a lot of grip.
No grip. All that stuff that's flying up behind the car is dust.
And you can see him. I mean, he's got his hands full. He's almost like he's on ice up there.
Yeah, no, there's not any grip up there right now. So Sunday, yeah, man, go for it.
And he will be one of the ones up there, probably with your brother, Michael.
You got it. But that dust means no traction. You are out of the groove.
But, Mike, you're right. I mean, Kyle Busch did do it in the truck, but just remember, they're down about 170, 80 horsepower over these Cup cars, so it's almost a necessity.
And truck's probably got several hundred pounds more downforce, too.
Well, let's move on to knockout qualifying. 13 drivers, 8 will race, and 5 will go home, or at least go as far as Las Vegas, for next week's race. Tony Stewart is the only past champion on the list. Jeremy Mayfield, after making the Daytona 500, comes out here for the California race.
I was just saying about my brother, Michael Waltrip. You know, his airplane had an engine problem coming out here, and they had to make an emergency landing of all places, Las Vegas. But something happened to the airplane. They landed in Las Vegas. So his day with his blown engine in his car, or his ailing engine in his car, didn't get any better than his airplane did.
But he landed safely.
No problem.
Engine.
They landed, and everybody was fine. But
was he on the plane?
No, he wasn't on the plane. He was already out here. They got They chartered a bus. Everybody got on the bus, and they just rode on over to Ontario.
At 40-15, I wouldn't feel too good about that. I think you got to at least be in the 39s if you want to feel safe in this show.
With 5 drivers going home, Larry, I would agree. Yeah. That is not safe. He's not out by any means.
No.
But that is far from safe.
Jeremy has a win here back in 2000, driving for Penske Cranofus.
Tony Stewart has never had a front row start here.
I like the way that car looked going down the back. It was going across the bumps, and it wasn't jumping up and down. It was really smooth.
Very. Tony has a 3rd place start, a 4th, a 6th, and a 7th, and 3 top 5 finishes here.
Tell you what, 206, and she's sitting pretty solid right there right now. Let's see if he can get off the corner. Gave up a little bit on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, you just have to play with the throttle right there in the middle of one. And I've seen so many cars. Saw Jimmy Johnson on a mock qualifying run get sideways right there. It's just not much grip in the middle of that turn, doesn't look like.
You know, Mike, this is only one of 3 tracks out of our 22 that Tony does not have a Sprint Cup Series win. He's not won here, he's not won at Las Vegas, and he's not won at Darlington in the Sprint Cup Series.
Still a good run. Top 10 looks like.
Yep, 10th.
39.58 for Tony Stewart. Knockout qualifying continues with David Gilliland, Mike Garvey, and Todd Bodine. TRG, the Racers Group, had Mike Wallace behind the wheel at Daytona. He was unable to race their car into the 500. And they have switched to Riverside, California native, 2nd-generation driver David Gilliland here. Now, Gilliland is still was under contract to Doug Yates for this season, but what's the situation now?
Yeah, they severed ties as of today.
Okay.
They was out looking for a job.
The Yates organization unable to find sponsorship.
Couldn't find a sponsor
to run a car.
David wants to race, and they want him to race, and so they released him to go find something to do.
And this is a car they purchased from Richard Childress Racing, and Earnhardt Childress Racing Engine supplies the engines. And their plan right now, especially with the blank quarter panels, is to attempt the next 4 or 5 races with David, with the hopes that sponsorship will come along.
That's got to go territory. 30 to 35 right there.
Yeah, he may be down in the 39s, but it's going to be the high 39s, and they're going to have to sit tight and wait. And that looks like what about he's going to be.
39.94 for Gilliland. He is 30th, excuse me, on the speed chart.
But he beats Jeremy Mayfield, so that's at least one car that he has beat.
I believe 39.94 is going to be okay.
You got to beat 5 cars to make the show.
Yeah, and he's only got to beat 4. He beat Mayfield, so I think he'll be okay with that time.
Based on some of the times in practice that those other cars ran,
and
could be close.
And we haven't seen the. I mean, like Mike said, the track hadn't picked up. I thought the track might. I think it must be going through a transition. I think it cooled down and it's kind of stabilized right now. It may have to get much later for it to get any better.
Now Mike Garvey is scheduled to go next. And I believe instead they're going to send Todd Bodine. That is the case.
Where do you reckon that car came from?
Bill Davis Racing. I know where it came from.
Todd won the first nationwide race held here in 1997. He has 3 Cup starts at this racetrack.
Between Bill Davis and then the Ganassi folks changing from Dodge to Chevrolets, there were probably a good 40 or 50 race cars, probably 40 race cars on the market.
And when you walk through the garage area, you see a lot of them that still have some of that color on them.
And they were selling them cheap too.
And Doug Richard is looking after this effort. Team plans on attempting to run the full schedule. Jeffrey Bodine, Todd's brother, did not make the Daytona 500. Todd's in the car here.
But since the name on the roof just says Bodine, they didn't even have to change that.
Just a little adjustment with the seat, Jeffrey told me. Jeffrey was actually, he was catering to the driver earlier today. He was making sure Todd's helmet was out there and his gloves and his Hans device and making sure everything was good.
I'm surprised he's not in Lake Placid, because don't the Americans have a good shot at gold in the World Bobsled Championships
They really do.
this year?
Yeah, Jeff has really helped out the U.S. bobsled team with the work he's done with the Bodine sled.
In fact, Todd won that competition up there in January that they put on.
Well, that doesn't look good. 40.57 for Todd Bodine. That is the slowest of 38. He's going to run 2.
You run that slow when you're a go or go homer. You have to.
You gotta go.
You want to go down swinging. But I think it will be to no avail, because especially with these heavier cars, we saw it even in the trucks. It's just hard to run faster on your second lap because you just lose more and more grip as you go with the tires. They're running a Toyota. Joey Arrington doing the engines. Did you ever think you'd see Joey Arrington doing anything but a Dodge engine?
Never.
Nope. 40.70 slower on lap 2. So it's a safe bet that Todd Bodine will be one of the go-home cars, one of the 5 that does not make the show for the Auto Club 500.
Speaking of Joey, his dad Buddy, I bet they've still got some of the engines that Buddy ran up at Joey's place.
I bet they do.
Joey's got a collection. No, I'll let him tell you. I'm not sure everybody knows about that. Joey's got a lot of parts and pieces. Yes, he does.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. Here's Joe Nemechek.
That's back in the day.
Yep. And Joe put together his own effort to run this season. He won the pole for the first California race while driving for Felix Sabates in 1997.
Almost made the Daytona 500.
Boy, he was so close. What, 400s or 4,000s? Yeah, that was too bad for Joe. But Joe knows what it's like to field his own stuff. He did it in the Nationwide Series, and he's a good driver, and he knows how to work on these things.
He needs to be about 26th or 7th to feel good about getting into this show.
And just that one, man, and that is just your heart just jumps out of your chest. You know you got to get in. You got a pretty good lap going. That thing jumps sideways off corner over there, and you also know that costs you a bunch of time. There's so much pressure on these guys. You got one shot. And if you have a mistake, if something happens on your qualifying run, the car doesn't do just right, you know you're done.
So Joe's going to have to play too.
Yeah, this is going to be about the slowest of all the cars.
Yeah.
Right now, he's 39th out of the 39 cars. This continues to be better news for David Gilliland.
Excuse me, look at him throw it in there, Larry, and jump way up to 25th on the board. But then you got to get off the corner.
I think he could do better. That lap, the first lap through there, that thing got a little bit crazy with him coming off too. He might be able to pick it up. I don't know if it's enough or not.
And you heard his crew chief telling him, keep running unless it starts really getting hot, talking about the engine temperature with the tape on the nose.
You know, Larry, I'm surprised the crew chiefs don't say, man, you got to go. You got to pick it up.
Better, but I don't know.
No, I'm like you, Joe. It's better, but
not good enough.
Not enough.
40-45. Nemechek picks up 3/10, but it's doubtful that will be enough to make the show. Vickers so far on the pole. Jimmy Johnson the front row. In knockout qualifying, David Gilliland with a good lap. Jeremy Mayfield waiting and worrying. Joe Nemechek and Todd Bodine likely headed home as Dave Blaney takes to the racetrack. It's been a rough off season for Dave. Lost his ride when Bill Davis Racing shut down. Lost his father Lou just before the Daytona 500, and he was in Daytona rideless, and has put together a deal to run this number 66 car.
And he was good enough in practice that if they can just back up and pick up what everyone else has picked up in qualifying, I think they're going to be in great shape. Right now it looks awfully good down through 1 and 2. Doesn't need to be greedy. Just needs to, like Darrell was saying, run down in those 39s, 3980s, 3990s. You'll be in good shape.
This is Phil Parsons' car. Phil Parsons and company. And there's a lot of company.
Randy Humphries and their wives, and they have one other partner in this car.
Exactly.
And they actually have you see they're running a Toyota. They actually have a pretty huge alliance with Michael Waltrip Racing as far as resources and technology. And I think this is probably going to be a good enough lap that he's going to be in good shape. He's not locked in yet, but other than Tony Stewart, he becomes the fastest of the go-home guys.
Yep, mission accomplished.
And he has beaten 4 of the 5 he needs to beat to make the show.
And I just believe with that lap right there, knowing that David Starr only has 1 lap on the racetrack because of engine problems, I'm not sure I'd run this second lap. But
I don't like this. If I'm in the show, and I've seen too many bad things happen on the second laps. And what are you gaining?
And it's not faster.
No. Maybe maybe Dave just hasn't driven much. He just wants to get all laps he can.
Well, we've only had 2 cars run a second lap. Joe Nemechek and Todd Bodine. One of them picked up, one of them slowed down. This will be the 3rd one that slows down.
Coming up, Tony Raines, A.J. Allmendinger, Travis Kvapil. 7 cars to go in knockout qualifying. Tony Stewart is in. Dave Blaney is safe. Probably so David Gilliland. Not sure about Jeremy Mayfield. Tony Raines, the Long John Silver's Dodge number 37.
They've got work to do from where they were in practice. They were about 5th from the bottom of the charts.
I believe Mayfield is going to be right on the bubble.
I think you're right, Darrell. You're right, very close, one side or the other.
Yep.
Once again, a really tight qualifying right now. Brian Vickers on the pole at a 39.25, and Mayfield on the bubble, or right on the cusp at a 40.15.
Yep.
Now the green line is Dave Blaney, whom we believe is safe, right there in 29th spot, and I think right around 30th to 33rd is where you're going to need to be. So this run would be right about just a little quicker than Joe Nemechek and Todd Bodine.
So I think it'll be safe to say he will run that second lap, because that's about exactly where he's going to be, is back there with those boys. In fact, he's 41st out of the 41 cars that completed qualifying.
Yeah, 40.58. He needs to pick up 2/10.
Well, I know this may or may not be true, but just from watching him in his lap, it looked like that first lap was almost, he used it like a throwaway lap. This is a much better lap. He's getting down in the groove a little better. He was still pretty high in the middle of 3 and 4. Well, he's just running high in 3 and 4. I thought he was using that first one for a throwaway.
Now, you mentioned David Starr. Mike Garvey was not that quick in practice, nor was Sterling Marlin. So if Rains can beat Nemechek and Bodine, he's got a shot to make the show. 41-17, he's slower. So that will lock Dave Blaney into the show.
So that means the Phil Parsons, Randy Humphrey team, they make their second consecutive race. They qualified for the Daytona 500 with Terry Labonte. Actually had a good top 25 finish.
Yep. Business is picking up.
Look at those seats. That seat in that car. There's somebody in a car with him. There is. It's this big old seat.
Scott Riggs driving for Tommy Baldwin, one of the great feel-good stories of the Daytona 500 as this team came together last minute. Picked up a sponsor all but last minute, Red Bank Outfitters. Now Riggs has 2 top 5 starts here at California Speedway. So count on him to punch the button and get everything that's in that car.
And see what helps a lot of these Toyota guys, a lot of these guys are running the Camrys, is when Bill Davis, when he didn't race this year, that opened up not only cars but engines and a lot of other parts and pieces that were Bill Davis's. So it gave these guys opportunity to pick up some stuff and be able to show up and race.
And this is actually a car. It's a brand new race car. They bought it from Red Bull. Now our green dot now is David Gilliland. So he was right there close to it, but so far he's a little bit behind David Gilliland's lap.
Now we chose Gilliland because either Gilliland or Riggs will lock into the field with this run. Riggs with a 40.06. He needs about a little more than a 10th to lock in.
That's it.
He's done.
I think he's okay.
So Gilliland's in, and that leaves Riggs 1 spot away.
Yeah, Scott only needs to beat one more car.
Right, he should be fine. The cars left to go: Allmendinger, Quapple, Marlin, Garvey, and Starr. Famous, always made fresh, $5 footlong. Subway, eat fresh. 5 cars to go in knockout qualifying. And here is the number 73 for Mike Garvey.
Way up the track down at 1 and 2.
Now in truck qualifying earlier, we questioned why his Blue Ox truck was red. Well, it's because it matches the Cup car.
Okay.
That's why.
A lot of times you show up with a red car and you'll get a blue sponsor. You just show up with a blue car, you might get a red sponsor. You just show up with, what my point is, you show up, and if you don't have a sponsor, it may not be color coordinated. It might have to be fixed later.
As long as there's something on the quarter panel, it looks good.
That's it.
Well, it's going to need to be faster because Garvey's 41.44 is not quick enough in the Jana King Quality Concrete Dodge.
And I just don't see him picking up enough, which will be good news for Scott Riggs, who would join David Gilliland, Dave Blaney, and Tony Stewart as being locked in the show.
The car just don't want to. It just won't stay down. It slides up right in the middle of the track. That kills his corner exit.
They didn't get very much practice with this car. They were very late going out. He only got about 1 or 2 runs, about 5 laps total.
Picks up to a 40.93, but that's not enough. And Mike Garvey is 43rd. So Riggs locks into the field. Mayfield's chances look good, and Joe Nemechek's chances are looking better with 4 cars left to go.
Yeah, I felt good about Mayfield. I was a little concerned about Joe, but based on how Sterling ran. But I just know how Sterling is. He's got a knack for picking up just enough to get the thing in the show.
And it will likely be the 2 veterans, Nemechek and Marlin, fighting for the last spot in the field.
Sure looks that way.
Here is David Starr. Starr ran 2 laps in practice, and something went boom. A lot of smoke from his car, brought out a caution, sent him to the garage.
Darrell, you know, it's even more interesting with him not getting any more laps than that in practice. I talked to David. This is just a 1-race deal for David. David said, I've never sat behind the wheel of one of these new cars tomorrow. So he has no laps in a car tomorrow.
But he has driven a truck a lot, and I got to tell you, these things drive a lot like a truck. I don't mean the truck on the highway. I mean,
Right.
it's a race truck. But they have a lot of the same feel that a truck has. Matter of fact, if you look at a truck from the windshield all the way out to the nose, they're almost identical to what the cars are.
The Allegro Marinade Dodge has to get to the left of that green line to make the show.
Now, a young man by the name of Dexter Bean that's been running the ARCA series, his parents own this team, and Dexter is going to attempt to qualify. He was not approved for Daytona, not approved for here, but he is approved for Las Vegas next week.
43rd for Starr at a 40.79. And he doesn't need that much to get past Nemechek. He needs less than a tenth.
He got much.
Or excuse me, he needs 3/10.
He was much better into one that time, but lost again coming off.
And the green line is Mayfield there at 37.
Yeah, he just lost way too much time.
You can just hear him just off the throttle so long.
Can't get back to it.
But guys, if this indeed is going to lock Jeremy Mayfield in, which it will, what a story. Two race teams that didn't really become a reality until after January the 1st. Jeremy Mayfield and Scott Riggs with Tommy Baldwin Racing, they have now qualified for the first two races here in 2009.
That's right, they're locked in. So 3 cars to go. Allmendinger, Quapple, and Marlin.
And what they've got to keep hoping for, they've got pretty decent race cars. Know that qualifying doesn't get rained out, because if they can make it to Bristol, no qualifying gets rained. They make all the races, they're locked in the top 35. That's another huge hurdle for them to clear.
And it's a huge selling point.
Oh yeah, and now you're locked in and good to go.
So here's the dinger in the Charter Communications Dodge. Didn't make the show last year. Qualifying was rained out. Started outside pole here in the fall.
They've got a fast race car. I think the biggest thing that they've got to make sure goes on here is that they don't get greedy. Don't try to get more than you need here.
He's got a lot.
It looks good.
I mean, he drove it down in there, and look, it's stuck.
Little wiggle off of turn 2. And he didn't take the big wide entrance into 1. I think that was his conservative move there. Don't get it hung out there and getting the loose stuff. Good into here.
If he can get off of turn 4, Darrell, he's flirting with a top 10 run, flirting with becoming the fastest go-home car, even faster than Tony Stewart. He's going to be well up in the top 10 with this 44 car.
Yep, he is.
How about that? Eighth quickest.
39.55. That is 3/100ths quicker than Stewart. And A.J. Allmendinger is the fastest of the go-home cars.
And Mike, I think that it just proves again why over at Richard Petty's place they were trying so hard to get him in a car.
Right.
He's got talent. He's got momentum. He's got confidence now, and they really wanted to keep him in a ride if at all possible.
You know when I really saw his confidence change was when he won that race at Lowe's Motor Speedway that transferred him into the All-Star race. Boy, his confidence level just shot up after that.
So now Travis Quapple, Sterling Marlin have yet to run. Joe Nemechek, Todd Bodine, those 4 drivers, 2 spots available. As Quapple, who has never had a top 20 starting spot here, never a top 25 in 5 appearances, has to time his way in. He has to be left of the green line, and it looks like he's going to do that handling.
He was one of the quicker go-home cars in practice. In fact, he was right there about the same speed as A.J. Allmendinger.
I can't believe that he's not further up on the ticker there, the chart than he is. He's just hanging around that green line.
But he's in, Darrell, if he can stay right there.
Yeah.
I think this is just a nice, solid, conservative, let's get in the show.
Apparently so.
Well, mission accomplished for Travis Quapple. He is 37th with a lap of 40.08. He is in. That sends Todd Bodine home, along with Tony Raines, David Starr, and Mike Garvey. So now, 2 veterans, Sterling Marlin, Joe Nemechek. One will race, one will not.
You know what's going to be interesting is we have only had we've had 3 cars pick up on their second lap. It's going to be interesting to watch if that second lap of Joe Nemechek's is what's going to be the difference in him making the show or not.
Sterling's car won't crank.
Well, he'll have, if not, Darrell, they'll put him on the 5-minute clock. He'll have 5 minutes to get that car running, as Michael Waltrip did, and make an attempt.
Well, that'll panic you just a tad.
Just a little.
Last car out, got a shot to get in the show, got to do something he hadn't done all day, run a lap at 40-44 will get you in. Hadn't been anywhere near that, has he, Larry?
No, 41.72 was his fast lap, so he's got to pick up well over a second with this 09 car.
I hope he has good tires and a lot of tape.
Marlin ran 9 races last season, 7 of them for this team. Looking to make his 15th race here. And he has to beat Joe Nemechek's 40.45, which when Joe ran, that time did not look like it would make the show. But as we've cycled through, there are already 4 drivers slower than Nemechek. So Marlin or Nemechek, the green line is Nemechek's position.
204 down into turn 1.
Got the speed down the straightaway. That's only a couple mile an hour off of most cars at the fast cars. 207, I think, was the highest I saw.
Lost it coming off the corner.
Pushed.
.95 into turn 3.
You can hear him just really soft on the late and soft on the pedal, gas pedal.
He's going to have work to do on lap 2. He'll definitely have to run this second lap.
Yeah. 41.06 for Marlin.
He'd have to still pick up a second. He cut it off. He's done.
Yeah.
Well, he would need about 7/10.
Yeah.
And it's not there.
It's not there, no.
So that's a third team that didn't come together till after January the 1st that will make this race, Joe Nemechek's team.
That's great for Joe. I mean, missing the 500 only by just a few hundredths in the field in California. Whoopee!
So Sterling Marlin goes home, and Joe doesn't mind being last row Joe. Here's the front row. Brian Vickers wins his 2nd pole at California.
Working on Carl's.
Will be the 6th time in Brian Vickers' career in 174 races that he has started from the pole. Matt?
And Brian Vickers takes home his 2nd pole driving a Red Bull Toyota. The early draw didn't hurt you like you thought it would, but looking at the bigger picture, it's all about steps, getting ever closer to get this car in victory lane. Do you feel like you guys have climbed another step with this program?
Yeah, we definitely have. You know, Ryan and a bunch of new guys and a lot of really, really smart people at Red Bull and Toyota are still here from last year. But, you know, the new guys coming on board definitely helped. It's great to get our first pole together. You know, really proud of the effort this weekend. We had a good car in practice, but honestly, I didn't think it was a pole car. We were a little too tight. You know, we made some changes after practice, which obviously worked really well. And that car was just on rails in qualifying. I was so proud of the guys and the effort. And like you said, this early draw didn't hurt us nearly as bad as I thought. With a late qualifying session like this, starting at practically 4 o'clock and the sun going down, I thought it was going to hurt us, but it worked out.
And Brian Vickers will lead him to green on Sunday. Mike?
Thanks, Matt. Let's have a look at the starting grid for the Auto Club 500. Toyota, Chevrolet up front, Ford, Dodge. All 4 makes in the front 4 spots.
Kyle Busch missed his prediction. He thought he'd end up about 15th, but he hangs out there in the top 10 in that 18 car.
And Scott Speed over there. How about a rookie?
Yeah.
9th.
Marcos Ambrose there on row 7.
Carl Edwards, way back in 25th.
And Daytona 500 winner Matt Kenseth way back.
Blaney in that 66 car, that's pretty big too, in the Fields car.
And Joe Nemechek picks up the final spot in the field. Here are the drivers who head home early from the Auto Club 500. Brian Vickers wins the pole.